Hi, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of RegAlytics here in Steamboat, Colorado, with your update on this week's 21,484 regulatory alerts. And I'm doing this instead of skiing, which is honestly kind of lame, especially with 8 inches of fresh powder and blue skies. But as many of you know, being a startup founder isn't easy, but you know what is easy? Following regulation with RegAlytics. And if you want to make your life easier and you'd like to make my life easier in the process, consider a subscription to RegAlytics Essentials. It's only $49.99 a month, and you can have the last 90 days for over 8,000 regulators, and you create saved searches and stay on top of pretty much any topic you want. The regulator of the week for the second week in a row continues to be Doge. Well, Doge/Elon Musk. Of the 70 alerts from last week, most of them, unsurprisingly, are regulators crying out against the gutting of regulatory agencies, particularly members of Congress who helped pass laws that created these agencies, like, for example, the CFPB, which was created by Congress in response to the 2008 financial crisis. This agency was supposed to be a watchdog to stop abuse by financial institutions against ordinary citizens, and largely it's been successful at it. Since its inception, the CFPB has returned over $21 billion to victims of financial scams. So the president's job traditionally is to execute the laws faithfully. In this case, continue to leverage this congressionally created agency to fight against financial scams as Congress created in the Dodd-Frank Act. It is not typically the president's job to repeal, replace, or issue new laws, including those that create agencies. The job is just to enforce the laws that are currently in existence. Now, the fact sheets coming from the White House about Doge, it is arguing, not wrongly, that there's a lot of waste. For example, and this is from the fact sheet from the White House, so I can't independently confirm this, but excluding active duty military and postal service employees, the federal workforce exceeds 2.4 million people. But here's a fact I can confirm. No one knows exactly how many federal agencies exist. The Federal Register lists over 400. But when I first started RegAlytics, I ballparked that there were about 300 federal agencies. And then when I started searching more thoroughly in this regard, I found that 300 agencies got me from the letter A through C, as in, crap, that's a lot of agencies. So I'm amazed that even the President of the United States is admitting nobody knows how many federal agencies there are. So there has been a lot of frustration about this movement conceptually, but also the fact that the human being in charge of doing this work happens to be one of the richest humans in the world and is also the CEO of multiple companies that have a conflict of interest with these agencies. So this week, congressional folks accused Elon Musk of gutting Treasury's payment system to route these payments through an X payments platform, which he of course owns. Another congressional member cried out about Elon getting access to NASA, which his company SpaceX stood to gain by decisions made at NASA. And then we get to the topic of the week, which is language. So I follow agencies, and to be honest, they're supposed to be boring. It's the news that makes everything sensationalized for us. But in this case, the jabs the regulators are saying themselves are quite inflammatory. Elizabeth Warren put out a formal statement on the U.S. Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee website about how about the replacement of the CFPB chief, and she said, and I quote, "The question is not who the nominee is. The question is whether co-presidents Elon Musk and Donald Trump will let the CFPB continue its work." Co-presidents. Now that's a barb if I've ever heard one. But that's not the only language shocker that caught my eye this week. Representative Earl Buddy Carter, who's a Republican from Georgia, has introduced a bill that would authorize President Trump to acquire Greenland, but proposes to rename it Red, White, and Blueland. And that's it this week for RegAlytics. We have the global supply chain of the world's regulatory alerts in one very easy to use place. If you need a solution for anything related to regulation, give us a call.